When gyms closed during the lockdown period, which I'm sure everyone remembers, I stared at an empty garage space, actually at my mum and dad's house, in a garden with very little kit, and I was convinced that my fitness journey had come to an end. And it changed when I discovered that I had three very simple tools at home to transform my workouts. I didn't have fancy weights, no barbells, no fancy kit, and yet even though that these were the limiting factors, I realised that the conventional gym environment had limited my creativity. Now, even that I'm now back in the gym, I still use these bits of kit daily because if you're feeling stuck in your routine, these overlooked solutions might be exactly what you're missing.
Do tell.
Now, the first one, I've got them here. The underrated muscle activator of resistance bands. Now, most people use resistance bands in their warm-up and they miss the real value. Now, unlike weights, bands maintain tension all the way through range of motion, and barbells and machines can let off easily at certain points, like at the top of a bicep curl for example, where gravity stops working against you. With resistance bands, you stretch them, forcing muscles to work harder at weak points in end range, where normally you compensate with momentum. Now, a 2019 study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found resistance bands produce similar strength gains to machines over 8 weeks, but there was a key difference: that bands constantly engage stabilizing muscles that machines can ignore. This is why physical therapists and even elite athletes still rely on them. They can expose weaknesses raw weight sometimes can't. So let's take deadlifts for an example. When you struggle at lockout, but if you use a band over the barbell, the resistance peaks at full extension, forcing your glutes and hamstrings to work where they'd normally slack. Same for bench press. Band tension targets triceps and shoulders more effectively than simple weight alone. Now, there's 3 band exercises here that I like to include, but actually there's going to be a few more. So band resisted pull-ups. So loop a band between your feet and use it on a pull-up bar. The resistance increases at the top of the repetition, maximizing lat and bicep activation. You can do the same on band assisted pull-ups the other way, where the resistance band is on the bar itself, and you can use it for assistance and scale it down. You can do bent over rows, so anchor on a low point. Increasing tension keeps your upper back muscles engaged longer than a dumbbell typically would. Now, bands cost a fraction of gym memberships, yet fix hidden limitations, so using them alongside your normal lifts or when equipment isn't available is actually really useful. Now, not only this, people often do look at resistance bands on the examples I've mentioned, but also some things to consider with them. When you anchor them to a point, you can then use the other end of the band for cardio-based conditioning. So whether this is your bear crawls, whether this is like your sprint-based workouts on the spot, if it's raining outside and you're inside and you don't have access to a curved treadmill, because I'm not a big fan of sprinting on normal treadmills, and curved ones are probably the next best thing compared to outside. But let's say it's raining, anchor this to a nice resistance point using a thicker band. You can do resisted bear crawls, you can do running on the spot, you can do plyometric and jump based variations. Really simple thing that they get massively overlooked for, and they really can step up your cardio and conditioning game in a very simple and cost effective way. And that's why I think that they're one of the best ways to truly level up sticking points in exercises, or helping you to learn new movements such as the pull-ups, as I mentioned. They truly help to level you up, and they're massively overlooked, and everyone picks them up and does the typical shoulder dislocates over the head, and I can't do it because I'm sat in a chair, but that's all people pick them up and use them for when I see them in the gym. Missing out a massive amount of potential with them. So, not only this, if we're moving on to the next thing, what I think is massively overlooked are these little beauties. Oh, that went really wrong, so I'll grab the other one. Fat grips, grip strength game changer. Now, weak grip is sabotaging every lift, and this £15 fix changes everything. Studies show that fat grips can increase forearm activation by 200% compared to standard bars alone. So we're translating that to better power and stability in every pull, every press, and if your hands give out before your target muscles, you're leaving gains potentially on the table. So thicker grips force you to engage the entire hand, not just your fingers. A standard barbell and a dumbbell lets you squeeze with mostly your fingertips, which is why so many people rely on straps or chalk to compensate, and fat grips remove that crutch. They spread the load across the palms, the fingers, even the wrist stabilizers, mimicking how you'd grip real world objects outside the gym. Now, research is linking grip strength to longevity and injury prevention. So stronger hands mean better control in lifts, fewer imbalances that lead to joint issues. Not only this, when you look at rock climbers and some of the absolutely phenomenal grip strength they have and how it transfers into freakishly good lifts in the gym, it's definitely true that it's important. Now here's why it matters. If your forearms fail first during deadlifts or rows and your back and legs never get fully stimulated, and fat grips ensure your larger muscle groups work as hard as they should by removing grip as the weak link. They also expose imbalances, so if one side of your body struggles more than the other with a fat grip, there's a sign that you've been compensating without even realising it. I've utilised these and the improvements I've made in my own training have been exponential for such a simple bit of kit. So 2 exercises where I think they really come into their own and they can potentially outperform, relying on straps and chalk, fat grip farmers walks, so attaching them to 2 dumbbells or 2 kettlebells, using the fat grips, walking a distance for time. The thicker the handle, because these come in different thicknesses now, forces your entire grip to engage, working the forearms, traps, core simultaneously. Most people find their usual weight feels twice as heavy with fat grips. I can attest to this. It does make it far more challenging, and it proves how much that your grip was carrying you beforehand, and now really focusing on it and making it a conscious thing is awesome. Another thing that I like to use them for is for unconventional things such as like overhead presses, barbell presses, because when you press a dumbbell or a barbell overhead using fat grips, the instability, the thicker handle challenges the shoulders and the core to stabilize the weight, forcing a progressive overload even with lighter loads. So it gives you more chance to clean up your technique and really build that mind muscle connection. Now for the cost of them, fat grips cost less than most your probably monthly gym protein requires supplement. So you unlock full body engagement standard that sometimes bars can't match alone, and grip strength is just one piece of the puzzle. And if you want to take your training further, there's an even simpler tool most people can ignore, and it's probably sitting in your kitchen drawer or at home under a piece of furniture. Now, let me pick this up. Everyone knows what core sliders are, and they're your core weapon's secret weapon. These are furniture sliders, and I actually opt for these because they're bigger, as you can see, and they're cheaper. Now, here is what we want to do with these. You can buy these in a set. They tend to come in a larger thing, so you get more of a surface area to use. It's dirty because I've been using them, but they work as just as well. Now, with core sliders or furniture sliders, most fail because they focus on one plane of movement with them. So if you picture this, you've been doing crunches for months, but your back's to the lakes. Even when you're like lifting simple things like your groceries, imagine your abs firing evenly during every rep with no weak links. And that's the power of furniture sliders or core sliders. They would cost me a set for about £5 off Amazon. Now, these work the entire core smarter, not harder when you use them right. And the magic lies in the instability. And research has proven that unstable surfaces can boost core muscle recruitment far more than stable ground. And your body can't rely on momentum as much, so it must stabilise constantly to prevent the tipping. This continuous engagement builds functional strength, the kind that helps you shovel snow, for example, or carry a toddler for a prolonged period of time without tweaking your back. And physical therapists do love using these core sliders because they are an inexpensive way to expose imbalances instantly. If one side takes over, you'll feel it immediately, and you'll be able to tell if you've got each foot on a separate slider or each hand on a separate slider. So thinking of these as like the wild card in your core training, traditional crunches only target surface muscles, but sliders can challenge every aspect of the core, the obliques, the lower back, the deep stabilizers like the transverse abdominis. And a basic plank can become a full core battle. When you have your feet on a slidable surface, your muscles have to work overtime to prevent your legs from drifting apart or collapsing inwards. Now, some of my favourite exercises to do with those core sliders, for the core specifically, are like your slider fallout. So imagine there's an ab wheel, same principle but using the sliders instead. Kneel with the sliders under your hands and extend your arms forward, resisting the urge to arch your back, and pull back using the core. It's easier on the joints typically than an ab wheel because you're not going to be raising the hands up off the floor. I like to use them for hamstring curls, so lying on the back, heels on the sliders. Lift your hips, straighten, pull your legs back in. Your core fights to keep the core stable, and obviously the hamstrings are getting a fantastic constant engagement on a slippery surface is going to work much better like carpet or laminate. And then such as push-ups to pikes, when you're in a push-up position and the feet are on the sliders, and after a push-up, slide the feet toward the hands into a pike. Shoulders, abs, chest, you get a full body conditioning workout again. And the basic moves that you can level up with the sliders and make them progressively harder. So you can try lunges with them. I love doing a ductor slide instead of sat on a machine. Doing a ductor slide with them, massively underrated. One of the best leg exercises I found with them. And again, using them for stretching and your mobility work, because you can sort of get to a bit of an end range quicker, and that just bit less resistance helps you to get to end range on stretches a bit easier, I found. The best thing is they cost very little, so you can store them anywhere in any gym bag. They work on most floors, joint friendly because you can control the movement, and whether you're rehabbing, an injury or trying to chase a aesthetic based goal, sliders can remove shortcuts and make muscles earn every rep. Now, you can pair them together and use these bits of kit in exercises as a way to level up a really challenging workout, but in my personal opinion, just using them in isolation on their own is the best way to prevent that mental fatigue and still get the best stimulus.
Looking swole.
For cost of all of them, the fact that they can all fit in your gym bag, they are game changers. And the fitness industry is great at pushing expensive equipment, and the lockdowns proved that real progress came from creative training. I transformed my physique still while in the lockdown periods, and I had no kit, no fancy kit. I was training in mum and dad's back garden, in the snow, in the rain, usually because British weather was crap. Now, I'm telling you all to challenge yourselves to pick one of these bits of kit, try it, implement it, and let me know how you've found it, or if you've got any questions or you want insight on how to use them, just drop me a message. I'm more than happy to. Remember that the most powerful tool isn't something you buy, it's your creativity in solving movement-based problems. That resource never runs out and is always going to be there at your fingertips, and if you master it, you'll unlock your training breakthroughs anywhere, anytime. Because we don't know, like the lockdowns came a bit suddenly, and you'll probably remember it like I did. Trying to buy kit for a home training environment became ridiculously expensive. Everything was like gold dust, and everything, the price that you were expected to pay for basic stuff, just shot up due to demand. It became ridiculous. So if you can have basic bits of kit that you can use in your everyday training, in your gym bag, in the gym environment, and then still be able to use them at home, bit of a no-brainer. The fact that you can take them all with you. And yes, you're probably wondering, I should have put gymnastics rings on this, but I did an in-depth video on them on their own because I think they are just the best bit of kit you can buy for the money that you pay for them. In terms of what's going to supplement them, these three bits of kit, the resistance bands, the fat grips, core sliders, yeah, game changers to include. So, bosh. See you on the next one.